Welcome to Rich's Era. Washington's Supreme Court on Tuesday denied a request by Senator Lindsey Graham, RS, to quash a grand jury subpoena in an investigation by a Georgia prosecutor into allegations of interference in the 2020 presidential election. Before we continue, please support us and turn on the notification bell for more reliable updates. The decision is a victory for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, whose office is investigating phone calls Graham made with Georgia election officials at a time when then-President Donald Trump was contesting the outcome. As a result, the quote can now be fulfilled, although Graham could refuse to answer questions invoking his right against self-incrimination under the Constitution's Fifth Amendment. The decision means Graham could be questioned as early as November 17, according to court documents from his attorney. 20. The 11th U based in Atlanta. The Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed Graham's attempt not to answer questions about phone calls he made to Georgia election officials after the 2020 election. Graham has argued that he made the calls as part of his previous duties to certify the election's findings and that, therefore, the special subpoena of the Fulton County Grand Jury violates the Constitution's speech or debate clause, which protects lawmakers from investigations into comments they make in their official duties. But the appeals court ruled that Graham's views on those constitutional protections were too broad and that he should answer key questions from the grand jury, including whether he consulted with the Trump campaign before making the calls. The unsigned Supreme Court order says the lower court has already ruled that Graham should not be questioned about his legislative activity. Accordingly, no stay or injunction is required to uphold the senator's speech or debate clause immunity, the order said. The resolution also said Graham is free to continue arguing about what topics are taboo. Graham's office said in a statement that the Supreme Court's decision clarified that the speech or debate clause applies and that he does not have to answer questions on legislative matters. Activities. The senator's legal team intends to engage with the prosecutor in the next steps to ensure this constitutional immunity is upheld, the statement said. Willis is investigating 2 phone calls Graham had with the Secretary of State after the election, Brad Raffensperger and his associates. Raffensperger, a Republican, said Graham pressured him about his authority to refuse certain mail-in ballots, which he interpreted as a suggestion that legally cast votes be discarded. He denied that it was his intention to, and said he was trying to understand the state's process for verifying signatures on ballots. The grand jury subpoena said Graham also referred to allegations of widespread voter fraud that were consistent with public statements by known Trump campaign partners. Lower courts ruled that in addition to the phone calls, Graham could be questioned about his public statements, any coordination with the Trump campaign, and any attempts to court election officials for action. Texas, along with 9 other conservative-leaning states, filed a brief one in which he advocated that Graham must intervene, or his constitutional immunities would be invoked, forfeited, and his statutory appeal will be discussed when he is questioned by the local Georgia attorney. As an influential member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Graham helped Trump make 3 Supreme Court appointments. His legal team is led by Don McGahn, Trump's former White House counsel. On October 24, conservative Judge Clarence Thomas, who handles emergency requests from Georgia, temporarily blocked execution of the grand jury subpoena while the court determined its next steps. The court often imposes temporary administrative stays in cases involving urgent requests. The Supreme Court is also considering blocking a January 6 subpoena from the House of Representatives, seeking the phone records of Arizona Republican Party Chairwoman Kelly Ward, who was one of the so-called surrogate voters who falsely claimed Trump had the elections won in his state in